Hello and welcome to an episode of Historically Marked. I am in Springfield, Ohio, and it's one of the big major cities here in Ohio. Not as big as, say, Cincinnati, Columbus, or the other big C town, Cleveland or Dayton, but it is a major stop here on the National Road, and yeah, there's plenty of National Road stuff to cover, and I'm going to go ahead and take you to the West End, which is where I'm standing in. And it says to all the National Road visitors, welcome to the West End. Well, where are the West End girls? Okay, bad joke. But here are two historical markers that talk about the National Road. And there's a, looks like a, wow, this might be one of the original road markers here. I'll get to that one in a second. I'll start with this one. Okay, the road that helped build America. Known as the Main Street of America, the National Road was authorized by Congress in 1806. The National Road began in Cumberland, Maryland in 1811, extending an earlier route from Baltimore. Construction in Ohio began in 1825 and reached Springfield in 1838. An act of Congress required miles markers like the one here to appear at one mile intervals on the north side of the road. Each stone indicated the distance to Cumberland, Maryland at the top center, and on the sides the name and mileage to the nearest city east and westbound. Once reaching the western edge of Springfield, squabbling about the route delayed further construction for 10 years, and Springfield became known as a town at the end of the Pike. See, politics has not changed in the last 200 years. I mean, people can't agree, and people back, like politicians back then, did not agree on how far the route should be extended or where it should go. Okay, oh, here's that mile marker. Okay, so Cumberland, Maryland. Okay, it says here 305 miles. Columbus is 46 miles. And Springfield is 4 miles. Well, technically, this is Springfield, but I know Springfield has grown over the decades. And what does it say over here? Indianapolis is 126 miles. Very interesting stuff. What does this one say? A short distance west of the Springfield city limits at the top of Sugar Grove Hill entered the continuous metalled or paved portion of the National Road. The National Road was, outside of the navigable rivers and harbors, the first great internal improvement of the fledgling nation, the United States of America. This road commenced at Cumberland, Maryland, and continued through the mountains to Brownsville, Washington, Pennsylvania, Wheeling, West Virginia, Zanesville, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, and Springfield, Ohio. The final federal appropriation was made in 1836, and the final federal work on the continuous and contiguous part of the highway was completed west of Springfield in 1838. This road opened a relatively easy route for settlement of the Great Lakes heartland of the United States, and provided in return an outlet for the growing number of farm and manufactured products of this area. And it says the same on the back. But I'm going to go ahead and head that way and see what's on in the central part in the east end. And just a short distance from where I was is the Pennsylvania House. Very historic, built in 1839. There are two markers here. I'll go ahead and just start with this one. And unfortunately, I will not be going in the building because they are closed. Although today is Saturday, and it says on that sign 1 to 3 tour times, but it is actually noon here, so timing will be a little kind of weird there. Okay, so this one is about the mile markers, and we already kind of went through it at the previous station, but I'll see if there's any more additional information they offer. It does say that the Ohio's 5-foot-tall markers were set 2 feet deep into the ground with 3 feet exposed. And yeah, I mean, it says like the mileage information. And then by the 1920s, a uniform highway numbering system with standardized road signs replaced the old mile markers, but many remain along the road. And they even challenge you to see how many you can identify. But it even says here at the top, the use of mile markers began in the Roman Empire with stone obelisks. Huh. Okay, that's something I didn't know. The first Roman mile markers appeared in the 4th century BC on the empire's legendary Appian Way, the road from Rome to Brindisi. So yeah, this is pretty much almost the same, except the numbers are different. Like it's got Cumberland, Columbus, Springfield, and then Indianapolis. And then there's another marker right there. There's another similar one that was back there, but this one was erected by the Ohio Historical Society and the Ohio National Road Association in 2006. Almost says the same thing, but it just talks about, in addition, like the road declined after 1850 as railroads became the preferred method of travel. The automobile, however, brought new life to the National Road. It was reborn as US 40. It became a busy 24-hour-a-day artery with truck stops, motor courts, and diners until superseded by the interstate highways in the 1960s. It's funny that in Indiana it said the 1970s, but of course, interstate highways took many years to build. And on the other side is about the Pennsylvania House. And David Snively built the Federal-style Pennsylvania House in 1839 along the newly constructed National Road. This tavern and inn was an important stopover for livestock drovers and pioneers traveling by foot, on horseback, or in Conestoga wagons during the westward expansion of the United States in the 19th century. Dr. Isaac K. Funk, of Funk and Wignall's fame, lived in the house in the 1840s while his father served as its tavern keeper. Closed as an inn after the Civil War, it then served as a doctor's clinic, boarding house, and secondhand shop before falling into total disrepair. The Lagunda chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution saved it from demolition and has owned and operated as a museum since 1941. Listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1972. Now, so tours are $10 for adults, $3 for children. If you have a child under the age of 5, it's free. And here is the National Register of Historic Places plaque, built in 1839. Well, yeah, it definitely looks like a cool place, but unfortunately it was kind of bad timing on my part. And if you do take tours here, do not take cameras, because yeah, it damages the fabric and the clothing. Oh, okay, interesting. Springfield, Ohio, a city with a population of over 58,000 people, has lots of things to do, lots of history. There is the George Rogers Clark statue, as well as the man who wrote the patents for the Wright brothers flying machine, Harry Tolman. Here is the legendary State Theater building, which dates back to 1927. On the side is a painting of popular musician John Legend, a member of an exclusive club, the EGOT, where he has won an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony Award. This is the historic Tecumseh building, dating back to 1922. Across from it is a very large building which once housed the City Hall and Marketplace. It is now the home of Clark County Historical Society, which features a museum and library. In front of it is the historic Myers Market. Originally opened in 1916, it is now a food hall. I highly recommend, as there is an assortment of great places to eat inside. Springfield, Ohio may have many nicknames, but I had no idea this was one of them. And don't miss out on the Madonna the Trail statue, the only one that is in the state of Ohio. I have a separate video on that. All right, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Historically Marked, the National Road Edition. All right, this will end my current journey to the National Road. I will continue my eastward exploration into the National Road at a later time. So stay tuned. I am Jason in Springfield, Ohio. Sign off.